entrepreneurs all over the world. And today I have my special guest, helping lawyers stop being clueless about tech and AI. None other than Mr. Awais Haq.
Thank you so much for having me.
Welcome, Mr. Awais on Entrepreneurship 101. And can you please introduce more about yourself that I missed?
Yeah, so I have been an entrepreneur for last 6 years. I have scaled multiple businesses to six figures, and now my mission is to help lawyers take the right tech decisions.
And thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and wisdom to the world. Mr. Awais. Thank you. So today let's talk about being you, being entrepreneur. You've spoken openly about using the 5 minute rule to overcome overwhelm and procrastination. What was the specific moment your entrepreneurial journey where the rules saved you from stalling on a critical decision?
Right. So basically, when you're an entrepreneur and you start with selling something or buying something, I think the most important um, time is the first 5 minutes, because that defines whether you're going to make the deal or you're going to lose the deal. And if, let's suppose, before the deal, you are procrastinating heavily, you're thinking, okay, I'm going to lose the deal, you're never going to get the deal.
Mr. Awiz, you help startups scale to over 1 million ARR by connecting them to a top engineering talent. When you
Mm.
look at a founder, what is the one behavioral red flag that tells you they are not ready to scale no matter how good their product is?
Right. Number one, founders, what they make mistake is they don't respect their time. And I think time is the number one asset that anybody can have. So let's suppose if somebody is not ready, they've been thinking about an idea for past 2 years or even 6 months and still not ready to take action. I think they are losing everything in the business, because in the business, timing matters. And if you can take big risks with, I think you should think enough, but not too long before the idea slips away from your hands.
Very well said, Mr. Awiz. As someone who coaches others on productivity, what is a low value task you still struggle to delegate or give up and why?
All right. So this is the number one mistake a lot of new founders make, and I did too in my early career. So I'll tell you something very important. Everybody needs to take out the value of their R, and that can be done very easily. So let's suppose you're earning $1,000 a week right now, divide by the number of hours you work. So you're going to get the hourly value of your hour. Now, let's suppose your hourly value is $50 or $100 or 250 or 500, no matter what your hourly value is. You should delegate every task that doesn't make you money and that costs you less than your hourly rate.
Indeed. So, Mr. Owies, your LinkedIn presence focuses heavily on mindset and personal growth. Was there a
Yeah.
specific failure or rock bottom, a moment that forced you to develop this disciplined approach to your own psychology?
Right. So when I started my business, I was doing everything on my own, right? So in the early days, you are always thinking that I do not have money to pay people. But the point is that if you start building stuff yourself as a founder, you're not selling stuff, you are not really building a business. What you're doing is you're employing yourself into the business. Now, that's the number one mistake I see everybody makes, specifically lawyers that I help. Because if you talk to a lawyer, they'll always tell you that there's so much admin work they do and that eats up their billable hours. Now, that admin work, if you ask them, what do you do? So they say, okay, we are sending the billing information, we are doing the paperwork, we are actually taking the clients, we are onboarding, we are training the staff. The problem with this is when you only have 24 hours. And what I say is that, let's suppose you hire a paralegal, you get an automation done that saves you like 8 hours of the day. Now you do not have 24 hours. In fact, you have about 34 or 32 hours, because now you have given somebody else the opportunity to do the work that you used to do. So the core principle of any business is that the founder should be the best salesman in the company. If the founder cannot make sales, the company cannot pick up.
So, Mr. Awais, you founded Time Technologies LLC with the mission of helping businesses scale faster. What was the gap in the market for technical talent you personally experienced and led you to start this specific company?
Right. So there's a reason why I started this company, and it started because of a mistake I made initially. I was basically into ed tech. I was scaling tutoring businesses. I was never into tech really. So I wanted a learning management system for my own company. So I hired a software development company, and they gave me a delayed software after 6 months, which wasn't working. And at the end of the deal, they said, okay, the QA part, which we had to basically, I had to pay them. They're gonna waive it off, and I can hire another developer to make sure it works. Now that was a big scam. Now what I felt at that moment was that, okay, there's two ways I can go from here. Either I can procrastinate on what has happened to me. If somebody has scammed me for a software, should I just keep on crying, or should I develop it on my own? So I started developing it, and then I realized that, oh, this learning management system I can sell. So I started talking to my colleagues in the teaching industry, and I told them I have a learning management system which they can use. I used to visit them face to face, and would make sales. Slowly, within 1 year, we were able to put that system into 300 schools, and we were already making $1 million a year.
Awais, you mentioned helping startups scale to 1 million plus ARR. Can you walk us through the most common growth ceiling you see startup hit at around the revenue mark and how you help the break through it?
Right. So the thing is that when you're starting off, you do not know exactly whether the customers want your product or not. So you have to make sure that the product is market fit. Now, there's certain ways you can do it. For example, I'll give you an example of a startup we scaled that was Ethemic. You can check on my Ethemic LinkedIn profile as well. So what we did was we never actually created the software first. We put a website that just had a countdown, which was like 3 months after we were launching, and we said, "This is our USP, and this is what we're going to give you." Now there was a form attached. People would come in, fill the form, give us feedback, and we kept on building. By the time it was about to launch, we had already 300 customers signed up, and on the day first, we were already making revenue. From there onwards, the product was not really nice because it had really poor front end. It did not look nice. So we started getting feedback, and as we got the feedback, we started making features. Now, a lot of founders, what they do is they try to make a lot of features which nobody really wants. And once they get into that trap, they've already spent $50,000 or $100,000 in the software, and now they do not have the runway left to actually solve the problems which the customer want. So the journey of any startup should be start lean, very small, and when you get to a certain point where the customer tells you that, okay, this is the feature I want, you should ship the feature right there and then. You should not build everything in the start and then expect everybody to buy, because in your head that was a perfect idea, but in the market's head it might not be the perfect idea. Daniel, I think I lost you there.
Thank you. Sorry for that. So, Mr. Awis, very well said. So, what is the most difficult conversation you had have with a client founder who was not ready to listen about their team or strategy?
Right. So I met this lawyer, which she wanted to overhaul whole her firm technology, and what she wanted was that she wanted SEO, she wanted growth, she wanted intake. But the problem was she was not sure about what she wanted first. She did not have a niche picked. She did not know her customers. She did not know her market. She only wanted to get away from the financial problems she was having. So anybody who basically is emotional when buying anything, I think they need to set their priorities straight before they decide that they wanna improve on something. So a lot of lawyers or even business people, what they the biggest mistake they make is they keep on binge buying a lot of softwares that they never use, and then they keep on paying for the SaaS subscription fees every now and then. What I think is that um, when a company needs a certain software, they need to put in a very important decision about the problems they're having. So if the problem is not being solved by a particular software, you should never sign it up. But if the problem is being solved, sure, you can go ahead and then you can talk to a consultant, or you can actually do it on your own. But make sure that buying should be problem focused and solution focused, rather than somebody told you that, okay, this AI model is the best, or this AI app is the best, and the other person is using, so I should also use that.
You connect companies with top 5% engineer talent. Beyond
Yeah.
technical tasks, what is the one interview questions you insist on that reveals if a developer has the mindset to thrive in a high growth startup?
Right. Now, since AI, this shift is real, right? So now let me just explain this to you. When a developer I hire in my office, I do not ask them any technical question the first round. What I do is I say there's a right, in front of me there's a white wall. I say, I want this wall to be painted black. Now, tell me, sitting here, what would you do to make it black? Now, this question is a wonderful question in my perspective, because they now keep on thinking that, okay, I might have to bring a bucket. Some people say, I don't know what to do. Some people say, it cannot be done. Some people say, okay, I will have this process built and then I will paint the wall. The question basically makes me analyze their critical thinking, because these days coding is not a problem, and it was never a problem. Writing code was the last thing. The first thing in a developer is whether he has the mindset and the right mindset to find the solution of the problem that is before him. If he cannot understand, or if he says, or I don't know what to do, then that engineering talent is of no use.
Well, Mr. Awis, you work across different time zone managing global talent. How has the
Yeah.
experience changed your philosophy on building company culture versus simply managing output?
Right. So there are two things about this. First of all, when you talk about output, right? Output is something that, okay, we have a target A in the first month, or target B in the first month. We have to complete the targets. So obviously, the output is based on some quantities that we define. But the culture is something which is more important, because if, let's suppose, you have a healthy culture in your office, people love to come to your office, they come on time, they are punctual, they are disciplined, then the clients, they also get the value out of it. And actually, engineering talent is available everywhere. The problem is whether they are culturally fit, and if they can provide the right value to the customer, where the customer feels like he has not hired somebody as a liability, but hired somebody who can really, really help him ease the pain that he's currently having.
Mm, very well said. Very well said, Mr. Awais. You help many business scale. Have you ever had to tell a founder to stop hiring and focus on retention or internal workflow first?
Oh, I have actually told that so many times because what founders do really in the start, they they initially get traction from the customers, and now what they do is they want to build their offices first. So they'll buy fancy tables, they'll buy fancy computers, they'll buy fancy gadgets without understanding that there has to be a process made, and the runway has to be there. So what they need to do is every single process that they think of, it could be HR, it could be sales, it could be marketing, those processes need to be defined on paper. Because in your head you might be doing the best thing, but in your employee's head they might have a different idea of what you think. So building processes is the most efficient way of running any sort of business, and the highest scaling business always have processes in place rather than people in place, because people can leave, processes will stay forever.
Indeed. So, Mr. Awais, tell us, looking at the landscape now with AI changing the nature of engineering,
Hmm.
how are you advising your startup clients to adopt their hiring strategies for the next 3 to 5 years?
Right. So first of all, I think it is very early to say that AI is going to replace everybody, but in fact, I have a very different opinion on AI because fundamentally, as a tech expert, I know that there are major limitations to what AI can do. AI is basically, you can make it multimodal, but it will always hallucinate. It will never give you a finished product, and it will never be able to make sure that it solves the problem that has certain consequences, because AI understands prompts. AI doesn't understand the consequence of what it builds. So, for engineering talent, when you're hiring somebody, you need to understand that that person or that team has to be critically fit. Why I say this word critically fit? Because if they cannot think and they actually give their thought process or delegate that thought process to AI, then basically they are not going to do anything for you. So when you're hiring an engineering team, make sure you ask how to solve the problem that you have, and if they have a solution for that, you can obviously take you onboard that AI team. But obviously AI is being used everywhere, but if the human is the main driver of AI, that makes a big difference. If the human is delegating everything to AI because of the efficiency, then it doesn't actually give you efficiency. Because what I've seen is that, let's suppose there are 3,000 lines of code that AI can write, and the person who is now ready to solve a problem, he doesn't understand the code. He will now have to spend more time fixing the code rather than spending time shipping another feature. So instead of delegating everything to AI, I think smart people are using AI as a tool rather than as an assistant.
Mm, indeed. So, Mr. Awais,
Yeah.
how do you define success for yourself now beyond the revenue milestone of the companies you help?
Right. So success is a very subjective term, and I think that attaching success to revenue is a very, very wrong thing. But a lot of people think that success is revenue, but I think success comes from the legacy you build behind. So a lot of people might feel successful when they're happy about a goal they have achieved, but in my opinion, if my company stays there for even when I die and my legacy continues, that would be the success of my company as something that I truly believe in. Similarly, in the case of Apple, Steve Jobs isn't here, but people remember him because he started Apple, and Apple is one of the greatest companies on earth. But it's the legacy that continues, it's not the revenue that really matters.
Very well said, Mr. Awais. Very well said. If a young Awais come to you today and said, I want to build a company that helps other founders, that would you tell him to study that is not a business syllabus?
Can you ask that question again, please?
Yes. So if a young Awais come to you today and said, I want to build a company that helps other founders,
Hmm.
what would you tell him to study that is not on the business syllabus?
Right. So if I am young, I in today's time, and I think that if I wanted to start a company or help other founders, I would say that start from just your bedroom, right? The way I initially started, but start from bedroom and start learning sales when you're really, really young. Then the next thing is when you're learning sales, the next important thing I would advise myself is to learn how to speak properly. Because if you do not have clarity when you're speaking, that is, I think, the biggest disadvantage anybody can have in running any sort of company. So, clarity of mindset, clarity of language is one that builds the sales pipeline.
Well, to wrap up our discussion for today, Mr. Always in a world obsessed with speed and scaling with something worth being slow about.
All right. So, um, if let's suppose people want to really continue, so I would say that there are a couple of books that I have read, and one of those books is Good to Great. And if anybody wants to learn about how to scale a business properly, should actually go read that book.
Very well said, Mr. Always, and thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and wisdom to the world. So can you please invite our listeners to support that your business, your project that you want to promote on Entrepreneurship 101?
I have a new weekly news letter that I help many founders with. So if you would want to join in that newsletter, just sign up in the link.
Yes, people, let's support Mr. Awais Haq because if you support him, or do more and more empowering business like this to thrive. So, Mr. Awais, thank you so much for your time.
It was a pleasure coming to your show.
What got people see you soon?